I guess for both of you guys, how's camp been going? About a week and a half or so into it.
It's been good so far. Just trying to stack days and not kind of get complacent, because you could have one good day, one bad day, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. The next day matters. So just trying to stack good practices on good practices and just keep getting better.
Yeah, I'd say camp is really mostly a mental thing, just your playbook, but also you're going to make some good plays. You don't want to get too high. You're going to make some bad plays or be corrected on some things. You don't want to get too low and just kind of stack days, like you said.
And Q, we know about you and Brylan. Who are some of the other guys at safety that are kind of stepping forward so far in camp?
In my opinion, Eli has stepped up a lot, Eli August, and just the overall depth in the room between Eldrick, just we got new freshmen coming in, Dev Henderson, just guys that came last year like Javo, and just being able to give us more depth has just helped us through camp, because that's really what we lacked last year.
Bentley, how different does it look on offense just with so many different new receivers? I mean, the tight end room seems like it's kind of returns pretty much everybody, but with the receiving core, how different has it been?
Yeah, I think they're all competing right now to see who can do who. I just heard Coach talk about DC and others, but as well as Juju, and lots of guys are kind of getting in the mix, learning the offense, and I think we're learning our identity right now and seeing what we can be great at, and so I think that'll look different from year to year. So there's a lot of things that I'm sure we'll do that we did last year, and we'll do them really well again, but I think there'll be different things that we'll adjust and kind of develop this own 2024 identity for offense.
Is there anything different you've seen in Caden at this point up to now, or is it just pretty much like he just picked it back up where he left off last year?
I think that I think this applies to any player who's in the second year of their offense. You just process things faster, so the decisions don't make. I think when you have to make decisions, you have to think a lot. You slow down and you analyze more. But when you know it, it just happens faster and you process faster, and it makes you look like a more athletic and faster player. So I've seen that in him.
I was going to ask you a similar question for yourself going into second year in the offense. Do you feel like things are slowing down a little bit? You're understanding the concepts and where you're supposed to be at different times?
For sure. So this is, I think I've had 5 OCs in 6 years of college football. So this is my first season with the same OC twice, which has been great. Willie Corn's a great one to have twice. But, yeah, things just slow down. It's not that it's perfect. We still got to, tweak things here or there. And we'll always adjust things week to week during the season anyways. But it's not just you understand your role, but you kind of understand what the whole offense is trying to do. And so you can adjust what you need to do based off that.
Q, you mentioned depth, but what else is it about this defense that's made it different this season so far?
Just our attitude attacking practice every day and just having the drive to compete. Like just the little things like punching the ball out and just swarming to the football. I feel like it can take us a long way, and it has taken us a long way in the past. So it's like, why stop something that isn't broken?
Coach, when he was in here for the first time, talked about all the interceptions you guys had last season, said you were going to be emphasizing punching the ball out, like you just said. Is that something that you're noticing as well? You guys are really working on that as opposed to, obviously, everybody wants the interceptions, but is that something you're really focusing on, is punching the ball?
Just getting turnovers and creating explosive plays for the defense is going to help us just get the offense back on the field and kind of keep us off the field, which is what we want. I'd rather have K-Saw on the field all game than the defense.
Q, you mentioned being more aggressive attacking each day. That was a different level of speed that Oregon showed in the Fiesta Bowl. How much did that give you a realization, particularly to attack the mental part, knowing how important it is to be in the right place at the right time?
It just showed me that football is football, no matter what level it is. So just the way you prepare is what really matters, and just how you go into the week every week is what really matters.
Q, how about going against some of these new receivers? I just asked him about them, but you're going against some of these guys, so who's really impressed you so far? Who's the toughest to guard out of that group?
Really, all our receiver core has just, I wouldn't say surprised me, but they've showed up. Whether it's Elijah Canyon, DC, Juju, it's just we have way more talent and depth, I feel like, and it's just allowed them to spread the ball around more. As a defense, you don't want a lot of threats or a lot of people who can threaten you. So just going every day and you see 4 wide and they're all faster than all of our DBs, it's just like, wow. And it just makes us better as a defense as well.
Who would you say has been the toughest one to pick up?
Juju is just very fast. So in my opinion, I'll say Juju. And DC is a great route runner. So along just those two alone have been doing great.
Conversely, Bentley, when you go out for routes, defending you, who's been a toughest?
That's a great question.
So usually it's not so much about size and speed, but how smart are they? How well can they recognize what you're doing? So a guy that I've gone 1,000 reps against right next to me, it gets tough because he starts to see like, if he's doing this, he's doing this. So I would say the more we play against someone makes them harder. So those ones that we go against, we got each other all figured out. So
We go at each other
it's a
almost
game
every
within a
day.
game within a
Yeah.
game, you know.
Bentley, we got familiar with you in Austin a lot last year, but Jacob was a guy that was here but ineligible to play.
Yeah.
What have you seen out of him so far going into this season?
He's a great player. He is what a tight end is in that he can catch the ball and he can run, but he also can block. And so it's no surprise that Coach Chadwell and Coach Ledutko would want to bring him over here when they came from Coastal to here. But he's going to be great at adding depth to our room, and I think he'll have a significant role. So,
For both of you, you mentioned going against each other so often in practice. Y'all can decide who goes first, by the way, on answering this. How much is it maybe forced you guys to work on knowing what your own tendencies are and how to disguise those, or have varying tendencies to make sure you get an advantage?
It actually helps. It allows me to kind of ask Bentley kind of what he thinks of the game and what he thinks on what I'm doing, and I kind of can have a different perspective of how I should carry myself within the game. So it's really been very beneficial. Just, iron sharpens iron. So the more we just compete, the more we're going to get better, and on game day, it'll definitely show.
yeah, we've had plenty of conversations where I've talked to him after a play, and I've been like, what coverage were you guys in? So I can recognize those things quicker in a game. But then there's also lots of moments where I know, like, if I'm blocking him and I stare at him, he's going to know I'm blocking him. So, like, I'll purposely, like, stare at Joe Carter and just tell the play to snap, and then I'll run the cue. But like I said before, it's like the game within the game. And so I think the game slows down and you start to become a better football player when you're thinking about those things.
As leaders on the team, how have you gone about implementing the culture and just the expectation yourselves, but then the other leaders as well collectively with so many newcomers?
Just trying to lead by example and be vocal as well. And no one's going to listen to you unless you're doing what you're actually saying. So just making sure you keep the main thing and focus on how can I help the guys around me and how can I show the guys what I'm actually saying and kind of be a good example.
Yeah, and we've talked about that as a team, but also one other thing we mentioned is that, like, our biggest leadership roles, I think, will be like in one-on-one encounters. And I don't think people really hear you a lot when you're like trying to yell really loud in front of a big group of people, but I do think people respond well to one-on-one interactions, and that's when you don't want to criticize someone in public, but you want to praise them in public and criticize them one-on-one. So I think that's the best way to go about it.